there, and welcome to the Surviving Trauma Stories of Hope podcast. In this week's episode, I am privileged to have Sylvester Jenkins III join me. Sylvester is a retired Army veteran, having served in the military for 21 years. In this episode, we will learn how he remained resilient amidst adversity. Sylvester is no stranger to this concept. He grew up as a son to a single mom and fell in with the wrong crowd until his circumstances presented him with an opportunity to enlist in the U.S. military. It was during his time in hostile environments that Sylvester became a leader and learned how to take adversity and to turn his stress into success. Sylvester has accomplished measurable results under extreme pressure while leading teams of people through dynamic, fast-paced, and even hostile environments. In our conversation today, we will dive into how to remain resilient amidst adversity, as well as get some actionable leadership and healing strategies that you can apply in your work and daily life. I enjoyed our conversation so much, and I'm sure you will too. As always, thank you to my listeners for joining me on this journey. Please comment on Instagram and Facebook posts and let me know what you think of this episode. As always, stay tuned and keep listening. Good morning, Sylvester. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's so nice to see you again.
So nice to see you too.
So, Sylvester, you are an author, coach, mental health advocate, and a retired Army veteran. Your message is one of empowerment for the next generation. And I take my hat off to you, dedicating your time and your space to the youth of the world, really. So that is what I know about you. But for the listeners, is there anything else you want to add?
Yes. So first and foremost, I'm a husband. I'm a father of 4 kids. As you stated, I'm a Army veteran. I spent 21 years in the military in the Army. I'm a professional speaker in the education industry. I speak on adversity and resilience. What I do, I empower, inspire, and impact the next generation to become resilient leaders that triumph and succeed in life by helping them turn their stress into success and to turn their obstacles into opportunities. So that's just a little more about me and what I do.
That is powerful. I'm so familiar with turning obstacles into opportunities. So that is incredibly powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I want to take a step back. When I look at your bio, I see Army veteran as the last on the list. But that's where I want to start today. Okay. So tell me, how did you become enlisted and where were you deployed?
So I enlisted in the military just due to certain things that were going on in my life. I was looking towards job security, and I had many other family members that served. For about the first 8 years of my military career, I considered myself to just be a follower that transitioned into a manager. I never really considered myself a leader during the time of me being in the military, but it was during my 3rd deployment to Iraq that I realized that obligation that had been bestowed upon me. So I've been deployed 5 times, 4 times to Iraq and 1 to Afghanistan. But on this 3rd deployment, it was a significant moment for me. It was like a paradigm shift due to the fact that when we got that last hour to spend with our families, one of my soldiers introduced me to his family, his wife, his kids, his mother and his father. And we're just standing there having a conversation. And I'm listening to this individual speak so highly of me and say so many encouraging things that I noticed the impact and the influence that I had on him. And during the time frame of that conversation happening, his mother pulled me to the side and she told me to please take care of my son and to bring him back home safe. That gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of confidence, just to know that somebody outside of my family who spoke so highly of me and had so much trust in me just gave me a sense of encouragement, just made it possible for me to want to do my best in order to make sure that I did everything in my power to be the best version or the best leader I could for my organization.
Wow, it is. And I think that we sometimes in life, we don't realize how others view us until we kind of take that step back and we say, wow, is this the impact that I have on someone I was not even aware? And that in itself is life-changing once you have that realization. So being deployed 5 different times in war zones, if I think about war, terror attacks, these are all forms of traumatic events. What would you say were the things that kept you grounded during your deployment?
Some of the things that kept me grounded it's something I call the 4 canteens of life. And the 4 canteens of life consist of a mental canteen, a physical canteen, a spiritual canteen, and also a social canteen. So the mental canteen, so everything starts from the brain. What we feed our brain is just as important as what we feed our bodies. The conversations, the images, the words, the ideas, they all shape our lives. And we know if we continue to think negative, it will attract negative. But if we think positive, it would attract positive. So I just tried to make sure that I stayed on a positive aspect. I, fought with my negative thinking along that journey as far as where I was located at. I was always thankful for another day just due to the fact that we was in a hazardous environment and that we could have lost our life at any point in time. So I just tried to look at the positive instead of the negative in the thinking aspect. And then the physical, one of my main things that I like to do is work out. I go work out roughly about twice a day, but that's also a way to relieve stress and then also just have a release like oxygen to the brain in order to think better and make better decisions, logical decisions. And then the spiritual aspect, I'm a strong faith-based man. I'm a Christian, so I read the Bible quite often, and just reading those words that the Bible provides you, man, it can give you a sense of life, a sense of hope, just strong faith. And then just having that social aspect. So in the military, we have these things called battle buddies. It's these people that we can count on in times of need. And they assign you one, or you just grow one as a friend or along this journey of being in the military. And a lot of people, they can gain those by just like family members, mother, sister, brother, husbands, wives, whatever it might be. So just keeping that strong foundation with those 4 canteens provided me a sense of life, just due to the fact that, stress can cause dehydration. Also, along with anxiety, depression, and other things, just being in that negative aspect can just cause you to be dehydrated, have headaches, and all kind of other things. So I came up with the 4 canteens of life just to maintain a sense of hope and also continue to move forward in my life.
Yeah. It's true. And I mean, it's all interconnected: mind, body, spirit.
Right.
You were looking after your mind, monitoring your thoughts from negative to positive. And you were also taking care of your body with physical activity, which in itself releases endorphins that makes us feel better. Right. It's a more holistic way of living.
Right. And absolutely.
So at some point you transitioned out of the army. And so many people find themselves in that space. What was that experience like for you?
It caused a lot of anxiety for me. I would be honest with you, because you're used to doing a certain thing for so long, and it becomes like a habit. And you have a sense of purpose throughout the day. But to transition from the military and go into civilian life, it was very difficult for me. I felt useless, to be honest with you. I felt useless for a period of time. The source of income wasn't as, high as it was previously. Transitioning into another job. When I transitioned, it was during the pandemic. So there wasn't a lot of, jobs hiring people at that time. So you have this sense of security, and then you go from that to not having nothing at all. And like I said before, I'm a husband and I'm a father, so I got a family to provide for. So just trying to figure out, like, how will I pay my bills? What will I do in order to continue to, bring in a source of income? Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to be able to put food on the table? All these things was going through my mind. And it was a continuous battle with myself on a constant basis. And it was so difficult to the point where I just went into a shell. I didn't want to conversate with nobody. I didn't want to interact. My whole sense of just being present, I was here, but I wasn't. You understand what I'm saying? So it was
Yes.
like I wasn't focused on anything dealing with my family at all. Like this is something that they had been longing for so long, just due to the fact that I was always gone while I was in the military. And now we can't enjoy it just due to the fact of how I'm feeling.
Yeah. So, what was that pivotal moment that really catapulted you onto the path that you are now, that really got you out of that slump that you were in?
Right. So what really pivoted me and shifted my paradigm was my mother passed away. When my mother passed away, and we went to her funeral, and the whole family there, all distant relatives that I haven't seen in a long period of time, and thought about the situation at that time was that once me and my siblings pass away, my mother's legacy would no longer live on. That would be it. And I was like, I don't want that for my kids. Not only do I not want that for my kids, but I want to make an impact in this world. So just thinking about her situation, her passing, and it just like totally shifted my brain. So in that time span, I was just trying to figure out what could I do in order to make an impact on this world and then also create a legacy for my kids. And so one thing I noticed was that I was able to speak pretty powerfully throughout my time in the military and encourage a lot of people. And I was able to talk about my situations that, really encourage them to want to do more, to help them to know that they can come out of whatever shell that they was in. And when that happened, I decided to write a book. And when I wrote the book, it was mainly just due to my experiences in the military, all the hardships that I faced, all the trials and tribulations, but also just what I learned as far as becoming a leader while in the military. So when I wrote the book, I did a podcast, and the guy had told me, man, have you ever thought about becoming a speaker? I was like, no, I'm not from that type of location, man. I ain't never heard about being a speaker. So he was like, man, I think you should, just try to dib and dabble, just see what it would do for you and see how you can help others by sharing your message. So I was like, okay, cool. So, once you start speaking to people, you try to figure out like who exactly is my message for. And just going down the line and just trying to jump out there and speak, I noticed that I resonated more with teens and young adults because my background as far as growing up wasn't the best. But to know where I came from to where I am today, people want to know. They want that sense of hope in order to be able to come out of that hole that they're in. So not only you, but your listeners, I grew up in a single parent home, a gang and drug infested neighborhood. My mother, she worked tooth and nail. She worked 12 hours a day, every day of the week. So I was a latchkey kid. Do you know what a latchkey kid is?
No.
So a latchkey kid, well, kids back in the 80s, their parents went to work on a constant basis, right? So they made it possible for kids to be able to go home, whether they was between the ages of like in elementary school all the way to their teenage years, right? So you'll be able to go home on your own by yourself, unsupervised for a period of time. So they called them latchkey kids because you had a key around your neck in order to go home and open your door or whatnot. So I was a latchkey kid. So I went after school, I go home. My mom was already at work. She leave dinner in the microwave for me. So dinner was already prepared. Along that path of when all these things were going on, by her being at work, I don't have the emotional connection, just due to the fact that she's always gone on a constant basis. I don't have a male figure in my life in order to catapult me to become who I need to be as a man. And then also, it's just an open environment without supervision. They say while the cats are away, the mice will play. So I
Yeah.
was going out into the streets, running around with the gangs, doing drugs, not really being focused on what I really need to do. So it just spiraled down along that way because I was just trying to find my path. I was doing everything I could to do to make people like me, to try and fit in because I didn't know who I was. And I grew up with like a sense of like trying to find my identity because as far as I think a male figure is pivotal in any young man or young woman's life. I think that's a pivotal mark because that's a huge influence as far as finding your masculinity as a young man, especially as a young black man. So it's certain things that I dealt with as far as the low self-esteem, the sense of depression, not knowing who I was, and then just wanting to know that other side of me. I felt incomplete. So, just along that journey, dealing with gangs, not having my mother present because she was working to provide. She was doing everything in her power as a single parent to provide for me and my siblings. And just to know that all these things was going on in my life, it was like devastating to me to the point where I just felt like there was no way out. I just felt like I could not make it, whatever it was. I just felt like a failure at all levels. It resulted in my school. I failed multiple times in school. I failed the fourth grade. I failed the sixth grade. I failed the eighth grade. I failed the 10th grade. I failed
Wow.
the 12th grade. I mean, it was just one thing after another. So, all these things was happening. And then, your words create worlds. And so I had a teacher tell me that she didn't think I had what it takes and that I wasn't college material. A teacher that was supposed to be like educating me and shaping me in order to have this sense of purpose told me that I wasn't college material. So I never went to college during that time frame. Now,
Because you
so
weren't deserving. That was really what she was telling you.
right, right.
Yeah. You
She
weren't
told me
worthy.
pretty exactly. I felt no sense of value. Or you think about, all these things that done piled up along that journey as far as me being from my childhood all the way to my teen years to my young adult years. So that's what catapulted me to join the military. But when I joined the military, it was looking for that sense of purpose. It was looking for that sense of direction. And to be honest with you, when you join the military with dysfunction, it only adds on more dysfunction because they break you down in order to try and build you back up. But if you already broken, how can you build that person back up? It's not enough time in order to build them back up to the person that they need to be. So they suppress their emotions because you really can't show any emotion because it could possibly get you killed. So you suppress these emotions that you already had suppressed when you was in your childhood years. And then when you get to a point where you just want to let it all out, that's when it's almost too late because a lot of times that leads to suicide. It leads to other things that you indulge in, like drugs, possibly just going out there and just like demoralizing yourself to a point where you can't even recover from that situation you dealt with. But for me, it truly but it was also a guiding light for me because I was able to separate myself from that environment and get around other environments in order to continue to learn from other people. And I think that was one of the significant moments for me that when I was going along that path. And then when I became a parent myself, I just thought about the things that I experienced in my childhood. So it prevented me from even going down that path of trying to not be present for my kids, to not want to be better for my wife and give her everything that she needs. Just seeing what my mama dealt with, and then also just to knowing what I dealt with as a kid, dealing with those identity issues and not being able to find my way or not having that male figure in my life. So those are a lot of things that I dealt with as far as when it came to me growing up.
Yeah.
I personally think adversity is the fuel to greatness because I believe I have a thing called the 5 Ps to continuous growth, and it starts with the pain. So everybody has some sense of pain that they dealt with in their life. That the adversity is inevitable; it's going to happen. But then you
Yes.
have to go through the process. You go through the process of healing. You go through the process of just learning what all I dealt with during that time frame and how to get over that hurdle. And when you go through that, that's when you find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, then the next thing you know, you find your power. You find power in your pain. You deal with that adversity to the point that you're able to help other people overcome any adversity that they might have. You're giving them and what might have took you years to overcome. you're able to shorten that time span for them and help them come out. And then they know they also have somebody they can look at, see as a role model and count on, and just be there for them whenever they're going through that transition. So those are 5 P's of continuous growth for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I had an interesting question from someone the other day. It was someone that actually listened to my podcast, to my journey. And this person said, Marlene, I also want access to the growth and the healing and all of these things, right? But I haven't experienced this adversity and this trauma. And I look at your life and all this trauma you've been through, and can I have access to it? Because I haven't experienced that. So what do you say to someone like that?
Wow. I tell them that keep that same mindset. Keep that same mindset. Don't ever lose sight of that mindset, because whether they believe it or not, they face some sense of adversity. The only thing about it is they didn't let it get the best of them during that time frame of that adversity. They were optimistic behind that situation, because a lot of times, like I said before, when we think negative, it will be negative. But I guess the person that asked you that question never really took a deep dive into the negativity. Instead, they seen it as a opportunity in order to just say, like, I guess that wasn't for me, and just moved on to the next thing. So I think they seen adversity, faced adversity, but at the same time, didn't let adversity get the best of them along that situation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I wanted to talk about this philosophy of yours of turning stress into success and obstacles into opportunities. What are the main factors that really help us to do that?
So the main factor is it's an acronym that I call MAX. So the MAX stands for mindset, attitude, and execute. And I'm not talking about the execute as far as the EX. I'm talking about the execute as far as the XE, because when we execute, we're eliminating excuses. It's execution over excuses. But when we think about the mindset, we've been talking about that for quite some time now, right? And when you think about the mind, and we think about the things that we continuously watch along that journey, as far as the stress that we deal with, because we're filled with stress on a daily basis, whether it's our job, whether it's our family, whether it's just, our way of thinking. And a lot of times our biggest enemy that we face is our enemy, our mind. That's the biggest enemy that you'll ever face. A
Yeah.
lot of things in the physical form, like the human beings, like, this is not your true enemy. I mean, it's somebody that you're a challenge for you, but overall it's up here. And so when we think about the things that we feed our brains, like, there's so many resources and tools that we can use in order to prevent ourselves from continuously going down this path. And something that continuously prevent us from changing our way of living, or change our way of life, is the fact that our brain is meant for survival. Our brains is meant to protect us. So our brain has a governor on it. And whenever it see danger or sense danger, it's going to tell you all these things to prevent you. It creates a sense of fear. And we all know fear is false evidence appearing real. Everything that we face, that we deal with, is false evidence appearing real. We start thinking about the what ifs. What if this happened? What if that happened? What if it don't happen? What if you go out here and you're just successful behind whatever you're doing? So your mindset is a powerful thing. That's why I tell everybody to have a growth mindset and do things to develop your growth mindset. And the people that you hang around can, hurt your mindset. So you want to make sure that you're only hanging around people that's going to invest in you, that's like on fertile ground, that's going to continue to help you grow along your journey. Because if you're hanging around the wrong people, then it'll continue to be in the wrong aspect. So like I told you, I was at a younger age, I was running around with gangs. I was doing drugs. It was that sense of influence. Like, if they're doing it, I guess I got to do it too. That peer pressure. It all starts up here. What would they think about me if I don't do it? It's like, that's just you thinking that. If you separate yourself from the situation, you won't have to deal with that. Voila, there go your problem solved. But you have to make a decision. Self-discipline is just you following orders that you tell yourself. That's all it is. I don't want to do this no more. Okay, we're not going to do it. That's self-discipline. That's self-discipline, following your own orders that you give yourself. And it all starts up here first. So I talk about that. And then also your attitude. Now, the best attitude to have is a winning attitude. But how do we have a winning attitude? By having this attitude of gratitude. That's the best way to do it. I get like the person you talk to that asks you the question dealing with the adversity. I bet you they have, from my standpoint, I feel as though they might have a strong sense of gratitude, a gratitude that incorporates into their attitude. They're thankful for certain things that they deal with. Like every morning that I wake up, I'm thankful for my eyesight. I'm thankful for this opportunity. I'm thankful for my mobility. It's so many things to be thankful for before we sit here and start thinking about other things in our lives that we got going on. So this will prevent you from experiencing a lot of stress because you already know the good prior to even knowing the bad. So it'll prevent you from even going down that direction. And some of the things that we can do is just making sure that we write those things down on a daily basis. I'm thankful for my mother. I'm thankful for my father. I'm thankful for this influence. So many things that we should be thankful for, and we don't even give it the time of day.
Yeah.
Life is so short. And one of the biggest things that you have on this earth is time. You can never get that back if you invest it in the wrong places. Never. And like I said before, just the execution over excuses. There's no such thing as a best time. There's no such thing as wait till I'm ready, because who knows when that will be. And you'll continue to prolong that opportunity as far as when you will be ready. So the only time to execute is now. No opportunity wasted. Now is the time to start. Just like when you started this podcast, you were like, okay, I'm going to do this. Or when you started writing your book, you were like, okay, I'm going to make this big announcement, because by you making this announcement, now I gotta follow through with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're holding yourself accountable. So you got to execute, right? So
Yes.
by doing these three things on a daily basis, you'll be able to turn your stress into success and your obstacles into opportunities, because you're having a winning attitude, the right mindset, and then you always execute. So those are my ways. I go more in depth in my speeches that I give, but just to give you a sense of how I turn stress into success and obstacles into opportunities, that is how I do it, by the acronym called MAX.
Yeah, that is powerful, because I was thinking, when you're in the thick of things and you're going through the divorce, or you have lost someone and the grief is so
Right,
overwhelming, and, it's so difficult to see where to start.
right,
And this acronym is actually something that you should bottle and sell, because
right,
when they're in the thick of things, when they can't see out, when they can't imagine that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, you
right,
start with this acronym. I know that you do work within resilience, character building, and this growth mindset that you've spoken to me about. But
right.
what does resilience mean to you?
Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity successfully. So, a lot of times we're dealing with challenges. Adversity is inevitable. I always tell people, I believe there are three types of people in this world, and that's the potato, the egg, and the coffee bean. Yeah. So I know you're looking at me kind of funny and laughing. So everybody deals with adversity, right? So for this analogy, we're going to say adversity is hot boiling water. So when you initially look at that potato, it's hard, right? You initially look at the potato as hard, which can be considered as strong. But then when you stick it in that hot boiling water, let's say that they lost their job, or as a student failed a big test at school that can prevent them from graduating on time. What happens to that potato on the inside? It grows soft, which can be considered as weak. And then you have that egg. Now the egg is already fragile before it even faces adversity. But when you stick it in that adversity, what happens to it on the inside? Because you think about, like you said earlier, divorce or loss of a loved one, it hardens on the inside. It grows bitter. But then you stick that coffee bean inside that hot boiling water. What happens to the water? It changes from hot boiling water to coffee. The same circumstance that brought it pain, it changed its surrounding for its better. That's what resilience is to me. So you should always strive to be a coffee bean, because you turn your pain into power. You turn your pain into your purpose. That's what resilience is. Being able to bounce back like a tennis ball instead of being that egg.
Wow. That's a great analogy.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, I want to be a coffee bean.
Yeah, always try to be a coffee bean. That's why I tell everybody when people say they were like, I'll be like, be a coffee bean. They were like, what? Do what? And then I have to give them their analogy. But of course, oh, okay, I understand. But that's resilience. A coffee bean is resilient.
I wanted to speak a bit about your books.
Okay. I want to speak, go in depth as far as of my book, Winning the Battle Within, because like I said before, the biggest enemy that you'll ever face in life is your enemy. And what inspired me to write this book was the situation that went on dealing with the pandemic. And I wanted to help people grow through instead of just go through. And I knew one of the biggest enemies that we face is our mind. So I wanted to teach people not only pointing out resilience, but then also how to develop a growth mindset so they can prevent themselves from having to deal with certain obstacles that they might face dealing with the pandemic. Because I felt as though the pandemic was an opportunity for us to grow and have a lot of self-development. We didn't have to leave our homes. You got an opportunity to work on your relationships. You had an opportunity to do a lot of self-development. And that's what I did. Initially, everybody was like all in a frantic due to the fact that everything that was going on. What am I going to do now? I lost my job. I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't go outside, but I took it as an opportunity in order to make the best of myself and just have that opportunity to dive in deep. Now, initially, I wasn't like that. I was like everybody else. But going down that path, I was like, man, this is the perfect opportunity for me to literally like just do everything I need and not have to really worry about anything that goes on. And so I started writing. And when I started writing, I started just going through not only research, but personal experiences. Like I speak about when I was in combat. Like I tell everybody, man, combat don't give a crap about you. Combat don't care if you're black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian. It doesn't care if you're a mother, a father, sister, a brother. It doesn't care what your religion is. When you're in combat, you got to think you're in a hazardous environment 365 days a year. That's every day. If you break that down into seconds, it's even longer. So you
Yeah.
can think about, and then the thing about combat is whenever you're in combat, you can be, eating at the dining facility with somebody close to you that you'd have made a relationship with one day and going to their memorial service the next day. You can be on the road on a convoy, getting ready to drop off supplies or whatever it might be, and y'all get small on fire or you get hit by an IED, improvised explosive device. You can get hit by IED, and guess what? You got to travel on that same road the next day. You don't have an opportunity to process. It doesn't care whether you're tired. It doesn't care whether you're hungry. Whatever you got to do in order to survive the following day, you have to do it. The mortar rounds, all the helicopters that's going over, you don't have an opportunity. You get used to it, but at the same time, you don't get an opportunity to really process that situation once you come back. Like you think about how long it takes in order to develop a habit. So you think about that. Once you're in combat, you come back home from combat. Guess what you're doing? You're training to go back to war because the Army has a saying, train as we fight. So when you come back from combat, guess what? You're doing the same thing, except you're on U.S. soil, doing the same thing that you would do in combat. First aid, you're learning how to do marksmanship. You're learning how to do hand-to-hand combat. You're learning how to, read a map and go through certain obstacles in order to be able to overtake the enemy. You're going through these things. You don't get no time to really degress from what you experienced over there in combat. And then at the same time, your family, you roughly get about 90 days with your family prior to redeploying. 90 days out of 12 months. Like how much time is that
Yeah.
to sustain a relationship? How much time is that to make an impact on your kids after you already been gone from them from a whole year? That right there alone, just like so much, you deal with. But the way that you overcome this is by developing that structure with your family, by, having those tough conversations, those uncomfortable conversations with your spouse, and bringing your kids in and just trying to make the best out of any opportunity that you have with them. Because I know my kids, like initially when I was deploying, they was like younger, but now they're teenagers. And when I went on my last deployment, man, they was crying, they was boo-hooing and everything else. They was like, man, is you gonna come back? Yeah, they can really process it now. They see TV, social media, they all over it. And you think about like when they was younger, they was like, Daddy, what you doing? I was like, I'm going away on vacation. I'll be right back. And they were like, oh, okay. I'll see you when you get back. But now that they older, they were like, man, what's going on? Why you got to go over there? You just can't stay? Can I go with you or something? Like, nah. So it's difficult in that aspect, man. It's a tough separation. So you get it from all angles, not only your organization, but also the environment that you're in, and then also your family, man, personal and professional life, man. So it's a difficult time. But yeah, so I added a lot of those things into my book. And then also I speak about the 4 canteens. I also speak about just developing resilience in your kids, also developing it in your marriage, your relationships, and then just going along that journey, because those are the things that people deal with. And I think there's 2 things that everybody wants, and that's success and happiness. Everybody wants success and happiness, but the only way you can do that if you have the right mindset and you stay resilient along that journey. So that is my book, Winning the Battle Within, pretty much.
Yeah. And where can I find that book?
It's on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. You can just go on there and just type in my name, Sylvester Jenkins, and it'll pull it right up. You can see it right there. And the ebook is only 99 cents. I just want to spread the message. I just want to make sure that people have some sense or guide or manual in order to help them win the battle within. So it's not an expensive book, just like you might find all these other ones from great authors that you might see. This is something that I just want people to put in their library so they'll have a reference to go to whenever they need or find themselves in those type of situation.
Okay, perfect. I'm definitely getting mine, Sylvester.
Thank you.
I love your message of hope.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Definitely, for sure. Any last words of wisdom for the listeners?
Yes. I like to tell people all the time, man, like, don't give up. Don't give up, man. Those 3 words go a long way. Just keep rising. But the main thing is, I want everybody to know, man, that even broken crayons still color. And I say that because you still have worth. You still have value. You still have purpose. Everybody was created on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose. God bestowed something what's inside of you, a purpose. And it's just like a piggy bank. It got the slot. I'm old school, so it got the little slot over the top where you put the money in. But a lot of times when we have this purpose inside of us, we got to go through the beating. We got to go through the shaking. And sometimes we have to be broken in order to get this purpose out of us. So I just want to tell everybody, you have a purpose within you. And the things that you're going through are only to prepare you for the purpose that you have to serve. So just remember, broken crayons still color, you still have values, you still have worth, and never give up.
Those are powerful, powerful words and such great advice. Thank you so much, Sylvester. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your message of empowerment with my audience, and your message of building resilience, character, and having this growth mindset is something that I think everybody can learn from and can use in their own lives. So thank you very much for sharing it with us. And definitely we are checking out your book, Amazon.com for 99 cents, Winning the Battle Within.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care. You too.
That wraps up this podcast episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, please take a minute to give me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast directory so you don't miss an episode. Please consider following My Centered Life on Facebook and Instagram for daily inspiration. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You can catch me again in the next episode, same time, same place. Sending you lots of love and light. Bye.